UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres visited an Ebola treatment center on Sunday in Beni, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where he expressed his admiration for the courage, resilience, and commitment of the community in which the first case was detected a year ago. U.S. trade protectionism will not only hurt the Asian economy but also undermine confidence in business cooperation between countries, said a South African professor of economics. A group of young Egyptians in the capital of Cairo have introduced devices that convert bicycles into water bikes, allowing people to take exploration of the Nile on the river.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres arrived in Beni along with the governor of North Kivu province, Kalwi Zanzu Kazivita, and was welcomed by locals and UN peacekeeping officials. The UN chief traveled to Mangina, a rural commune in Beni territory where the first case of Ebola was detected 1 year ago. He met with staff working at the Ebola treatment center. Guterres witnessed the discharge of 4 people cured with Ebola at the center. To date, a total of 167 patients were cured at the Mangina Center. The UN Secretary-General asked the cured patients to be spokespersons to their communities in the effort to end the Ebola crisis. Guterres highlighted the importance of security in the fight against Ebola to allow freedom of movement and access to healthcare workers. He said the UN solidarity must be expressed through increased cooperation between the United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the armed forces of the DRC to stem the terrorist acts of the Allied Democratic Forces and mobilize other local armed groups. The UN chief said funding pledges up to the end of the year are more or less in line with the need for Ebola control, but only 15% has been paid so far. He said even with promises, the lack of funding could jeopardize the response to counter the Ebola virus disease. Engineering remains a gender imbalanced field where women account for only a fraction of all engineers worldwide. In most African countries, this figure is even lower as cultural beliefs often impose gender roles for men and women. But one Nigerian tech firm and a group of young women are breaking down these barriers. These young employees are in the top 12% of female engineers at tech firm Andela, in the top 7% of women engineers in Nigeria, and in the top 12% globally. They are defying societal norms and clearing doubts about their abilities by pursuing careers in the male-dominated field of engineering. Each has a unique story of how they got into the field of software engineering.
I actually stumbled into software engineering because back then I was running a small business, a tailoring business, and I just knew I needed something more challenging. And so I was introduced to Andela by my sister.
Today, they are breaking new ground in their chosen career path and developing software applications that make life easier for people.
When I finished school, everyone was quick to suggest, okay, why don't you take a catering course or go to a tailoring school? And not that those are bad choices, but whenever I think about those things these days, I think to myself, what about, other career choices, other career paths like DevOps, what I do, like machine learning, cloud architecture. These are all valid paths that a lady can take.
Fueling the gender gap in the field of engineering and technology, especially in Africa, are societal stereotypes that women are just not cut for certain careers. It is something these ladies have all confronted at different times.
People think that women can write code, and women that write code don't look good generally. It's just one of the stereotypes out there. And I also remember one of my friends, telling me that he would actually die the day he sees me write code for an actual company. Yeah, so this is what that did for me. I was angry initially, but then I turned that anger into motivation, and I wanted to prove him wrong. And I've been doing that all these years.
All 4 of them were hired by global engineering company Andela less than a year ago. The company is helping to close the gender gap by hiring more women and nurturing them. All 4 of them were hired by global engineering company Andela less than a year ago. The company is helping to close the gender gap by hiring more women and nurturing them.
Here at Andela, there aren't any stereotypes I face. The environment is very conducive for work and very welcoming for female engineers.
One of the things that we're putting in place is sponsoring tech events and then having our female engineers to also speak in all of these events, just so that the ones out there who might be even considering starting a career in engineering can see these women, and have them serve as mentors, as the case is.
These young women are not only living out their dreams, they are urging other women who so wish to follow their path.
You're the only person that can stop yourself. Even if everyone is screaming and shouting, no, you can't do this, just say to yourself, if anyone else can do it, then I can also do it.
Because we are ladies, we don't have smaller brains, and we don't have less grit or determination because we are ladies. So if you want to join tech, do it.
Anthony Black, a professor at Cape Town University, has been paying close attention to the China-US economic and trade consultations. He said the US move of imposing additional tariffs is affecting the world economy.
Certainly, it is having an effect on trade. It's having an effect on the Chinese economy, on the US economy, on other economies around the world, especially I think in Asia. But the measuring the effect is complicated, because if you look at the trade numbers, that's one thing. But I think the effect is also on business confidence.
Black also pointed out that as the world's 2 largest economies, if the trade dispute between China and US continue, they will hinder trade and economic development of both the 2 countries and of other economies. This will also affect African exports to the rest of the world, as well as trade and economic development of African countries.
Large amounts of refugees have flooded into Greece since the end of August, with the daily average of arrivals reaching 700. On the Lesbos island in East Greece, a total of 547 refugees came ashore with 3 hours on Thursday. The refugees are mainly from the east coast of Turkey. It is estimated that more than 20,000 refugees now stay on the Aegean Islands. Local authorities, together with relevant institutions of the United Nations, have set up temporary shelters to accommodate the refugees, but the mass arrival of the refugees have increased the problem of food and water shortage, public security and sanitation. Inspired by an Italian invention that makes bicycles float on water, these young Egyptians decided to try it at home. They are the first group in the country to introduce this kind of water bikes.
I can't ride a bike, and this device allows people to cycle on the Nile during their hiking trip. So I started encouraging them to ride the bikes on the river. We kept working on the idea with the Ministry of Youth and Sport to spread it to other areas, and it was well received.
Depending mainly on social media for publicity, Nile Bike has attracted many people to try this new water activity. This type of water bike is suitable for everyone, including those who cannot ride bicycles.
The idea combines both cycling and kayaking. I love both, so I told myself, why not? I've just finished my first trial. It's really fun and gives you a refreshing feeling.
A quick glimpse at the water bike makes it appear to be easy, but it actually requires physical fitness and stamina to enjoy a long ride on the Nile.
I really enjoyed it. I got a bit tired because I rode it against the current. I can't compare it to regular bicycles. It's easy to ride following the current, but difficult in the opposite direction.
It costs around $6 to take the water bike for the 30-minute spin. The team is also trying to tour with it in as many places as possible in the Egyptian capital to spread awareness about their creative endeavor.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres visited an Ebola treatment center on Sunday in Beni, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where he expressed his admiration for the courage, resilience and commitment of the community in which the first case was detected a year ago. U.S. trade protectionism will not only hurt the Asian economy but also undermine confidence in business cooperation between countries, said a South African professor of economics. A group of young Egyptians in the capital of Cairo have introduced devices that convert bicycles into water bikes, allowing people to take exploration of the Nile on the river.